I'm Rhode Island Secretary of State Greg Amore. Welcome to your State House. In the middle of the Rotunda is the Great Seal of Rhode Island, and you can see on that seal you have the state motto, Hope, and the anchor, which has represented the state from colonial times forward. The full name of the state displayed in this seal is the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. But in 2020, the voters of Rhode Island, through a referendum, decided to eliminate Providence Plantations from the official name of the state, and so today the State of Rhode Island is its official name. The referendum was based on the incident involving George Floyd and kind of a racial awakening and knowledge of the history of this country. And so you can still see Providence Plantations here and there in this building as part of the structure of the building, but the state has eliminated Providence Plantations from all documentation and from all titles that are seen elsewhere in the building. You can see behind me there are 4 pillars of the Rhode Island State House, and each pillar is marked by artwork from the Italian artist Victor Zucchi. And interestingly enough, each of the images he painted representing justice, education, commerce, and literature is an image of his wife. The only thing that changes is her eye color. So these are kind of the foundation of any society, and they too were not part of the original design. Behind me is the magnificent chandelier. McKim, Mead & White built a building that had electricity. It was one of the first public buildings in America that had electricity, and that's why you see the light bulbs are showing. They're not covered because Rhode Islanders were very proud of the fact that this magnificent chandelier was electrified. Now, how do we clean that? How do we maintain it? There is a crank system within one of the pillars, the education pillars, that lowers that to the floor. It can be cleaned, the bulbs can be replaced, and then it's brought back up. The 3rd floor of the State House also provides access to both the Senate and the House public galleries. And you can see the House public gallery behind me. And we encourage Rhode Islanders to come in and visit and sit in for a legislative session, see their government at work. This is the Rhode Island House of Representatives chamber. The chamber is the largest room in the building. It hosts the governor's State of the State address and many other public gatherings, including the Electoral College count, which is presided over by the Secretary of State. There are 75 members of the Rhode Island House of Representatives. The districts are about 10,000 people per district. The Speaker of the House sits atop the rostrum. The furniture in here is original. It's been refurbished, but this is original to the State House in 1900, where the first General Assembly met. Even though the building and the grounds were not completed until 1904, the General Assembly met first here in 1900. These are oak desks. They've been updated for technology. You can see the computer screens on them. The tapestry on the walls depicts ancient Rome and ancient Greece, because those are the 2 original democracies. And here the House of Representatives is symbolic of that democracy. And there is a close connection to those representatives and their constituency. This chamber has 2 public galleries, and the public is always invited and welcomed into the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the public is invited on the floor up until the session begins. And then they can retreat to the public galleries and watch the procession. Okay, welcome to the Senate chamber. And the Senate chamber has 38 mahogany desks. Many of them are original, and again, they were updated for technology purposes relatively recently. The Senate chamber is smaller, obviously, than the House chamber because there are only 38 senators. And the Senate president sits atop the rostrum. This federal green is also accompanied by gold leaf, and throughout this building, you're going to see gold leaf, and it is actual gold leaf, hand-painted in many of the areas of the Rhode Island State House. Above me and above the Senate President's rostrum is the arch, and the arch has the seal of Rhode Island prominently displayed in the middle, but around that seal are the original 13 colonies and 13 state seals. Visitors can also come onto the floor of the Rhode Island Senate, meet with their legislators prior to the session, and then they can also observe the session from the Senate gallery. For many years, there were mirrors located in this room so that visitors could see the Senate president. Today, that is unnecessary with Capitol TV and the monitors that exist in both chambers. The Rhode Island Charter, the Royal Charter of 1663, moved to this location in 2016. It was first displayed outside the Senate chamber, but it was moved to this location and preserved with state-of-the-art technology so that the temperature, the air quality, the glass that protects it will hopefully preserve this incredibly important document for hundreds and hundreds of years to come. The Governor's Stateroom, the Rhode Island House Stateroom, serves as the main area for receptions and major events like bill signings. But the community uses this room all year long to celebrate culture and accomplishment. It is a magnificent room. It is the most magnificent room in the State House. So while the State House is made from mostly Georgia marble and bricks, this room is made from imported Italian marble, and it really brings an elegance to the State House. And the room is adorned with furniture with the seal of the governor, the flag with the seal of the governor, because it resides right next to the governor's office. This room has been used on many, many occasions to celebrate the accomplishments of Rhode Islanders across the years. The most prominent, well-known portrait in the Rhode Island Stateroom, the Governor's Stateroom, is the Gilbert Stuart portrait of President George Washington. Gilbert Stuart, born in Saunderstown, Rhode Island, was commissioned upon George Washington's death in 1799 by the Rhode Island General Assembly to paint two full-length portraits of President Washington. And it's important to understand that these are portraits of President Washington, not General Washington. There is a sword in the portrait to remind folks of his military background and the idea that the United States is willing to fight for what they believe in. But this is a depiction of Washington in full length that shows him as a peacetime president. And if you look closely at the portrait, you can see through the window the light is coming up. There's a rainbow, and that is symbolic of America's birth and growth as a nation. The General Assembly commissioned this painting, these two paintings, for two of the 5 Rhode Island State Houses at the time. One here in Providence on North Main Street, and the other in Newport, the Colony House. This one was obviously moved here when this State House was completed in 1904. The one remains in the Colony House. I believe the cost for the paintings in their entirety was $1,500. This one has been assessed at $10 million today. This is the same image of George Washington that Gilbert Stuart painted time and time and time again, and that is used on the dollar bill. This is one of the 4 brass honor roll books bound in brass, and the pages within the book are also bound in brass, honoring the over 2,400 Rhode Islanders, men and women, who died in service of their country in World War II. The keys to these honor roll books are available through the Department of State in the library, and anybody that comes in here and is seeking to look at this list of heroic Americans who gave their lives in World War II can do so by going to the library, talking to the librarian, and getting the key. Okay, so this is the third of the 3 monuments dedicated and honoring women in Rhode Island history. And this is the newest. This was dedicated in 2020 on the 100th anniversary of the passage and ratification of the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote in the United States. And it identifies on the plaque Rhode Island women firsts. The first Attorney General, Arlene Violet, the first member of Congress, Claudine Schneider, and the first female Rhode Island governor, Gina Raimondo. So this is the State House Library, and I might be biased, but it's my favorite room in the State House, and that has nothing to do with it being managed by the Secretary of State. but it is also manned by librarians. It's a working library. It holds a plethora of information about Rhode Island state government and state law, our history, and also the history of the United States. The oldest volume here dates back to 1750 from the General Assembly in colonial times. There are, on the third set of stacks, congressional records dating back to George Washington's administration. The room itself is magnificent. It shows off the electricity that McKim, Mead, and White were so proud of in this building, one of the first public buildings to have electricity. It has a Hogwarts-esque feel to it, in a Harry Potter reference. It is absolutely beautiful, and the ceiling is designed to mirror a leather-bound book. This is one of the best places in the State House. It holds artifacts from time to time, public meetings all the time, press conferences. It's just a great public space. One of the artifacts displayed in the State House Library are moon rocks that came from the Apollo 11 landing in 1969, the landing on the moon. Also, the Rhode Island flag, the miniature Rhode Island flag was brought up to the moon and brought back. And this is one of those pieces that gets a lot of attention, especially from our young visitors, because it's cool.
If you find yourself landing in Rhode Island, please sign up for a free tour. We enjoy sharing the beauty of this magnificent building. It is truly the people's house.